Hello everybody. Hello, welcome in. Good to see you. Hello, welcome. Hello, yes, hi. Yes, I'm on. I made it. Oh, what a crazy day it's been, everybody. It's been a crazy day. It just has been. Yes, I can see you, John. I can see you. Hello. Seriously, let me interview you for funsies. Well, Kristen, we'll set it up. Absolutely. I think we should do that. That would be fun. We will set it up. Is Floyd in jail? Not that I know of. Not as of this moment. But it could happen anytime. I haven't seen an order come down yet. So, yes, Santos is in some pretty big trouble. Yes. Hello, Marcy. Hi, Suze. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes, we had quite a day today. Yes, my fox. So, oh my gosh, everybody, we actually have a pair. We have a mating pair that runs through our backyard, and so I saw both of them, but I think one of them just was like, "I gotta go," and the other one just sat there and stared at me. I love it. I love it. So it's pretty fun. It's fun when their little kits come out too. They're so adorable. But yes, our home, our backyard used to be an apple orchard. So there's all kinds of fun places to kind of hide and hang out there. So hello, Hawk. Hello, welcome. So I'm very, very thankful for that. We adore them. Yes, absolutely. We adore them. We try to stay as far away as we can, of course. Get pictures every now and then. But this particular one, though, when I was out, he looked pretty frustrated. But it was pretty amazing. Absolutely. Yes, I should. I've got a couple of old posts I could do with the kits. They're so cute, running up and down. Because our backyard used to be an orchard, so it's very hilly. So I've got some old posts I might be able to put up on that. Sure, absolutely. But yeah, it was really fun seeing him out there today, running around. So it's a lot of fun. Hello. What does the fox say? Actually, it's kind of a chirping sound. It's very interesting. It sounds like a cat if it's from far away, but closer up, it's a bit of a chirp sound. Hello, Northern Minnesota. Okay, hello. Good to see you. Didn't know which one of us was more surprised. Yes. Oh, I just love the foxes. We have all kinds of critters around. We have a possum. We have that hangs out in our area. We have a hunting cat that hangs out, and a couple of really angry crows that come and visit. But yes, the fox. I will. I'll see if I can. I've got some. I do have some recordings of their kits, so I should put that up. It's from last year, but it's still pretty adorable. Really? Yes. No coyotes here. We're very lucky. We're very, very lucky for that. We do get deer that come through, and I tell you, when you see a deer and a huge couple of deer, and you're like right next to them, oh, it's scary. I mean, they're beautiful, but they're just, they're wild. They're wild creatures. We don't know what's gonna happen. So. Oh, thank you. Is it a Naveb? Oh, what a pretty name. Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Ooh, Massachusetts. Hello. Yes. So I've got a little bit more. They are scary up close. Yes. Oh, swampland. Well, ours, there's highs and lows. So it depends. 13-pound Chihuahua. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, yikes. So my hand is doing a lot better, everybody. The swelling has gone down enough for me to be able to wear my very favorite ring. So this is usually my Thursday ring, so I'm very glad about that. So it's still a bit sore, but it's definitely, I think the bruising has faded enough, and so I'm pretty happy about it. I'm pretty excited. They're kind of mangy. I know. Well, it's a lot of fun. It's fun to see to see them running around. So, yes, yes. Uh yes, new, new nails. Oh my gosh. So, yes, less pain for sure. So tonight, everybody, I've got a couple things. What I'd like to do is really zip through the George Santos ethics complaint. It's very interesting. I will probably read the intro and then a few other pieces and then just kind of walk you through pieces of it. So it's very interesting. There's a lot going on. Now, many of you were probably with me when I read the superseding indictment on a live. So a lot of that language is back in here again. Have we found Roger Stone? Really? They pulled the documentary? No, really interesting. Not running for re-election. Yes, so that's what I've heard as well. I've heard he won't be running again. Hello from California. Yes. Well, we did do the superseding indictment, but this ethics report is pretty bad, everybody. It's pretty bad. So, oh yeah, me too. I'm glad there were no breaks as well. Shoo. So I do have that. And then I thought I would just do, I had spoken earlier this week about going through the Michigan. So the Michigan 14th Amendment Section 3 case had been filed in Michigan, but the court has dismissed it. So I thought I would go through just the first couple pages and set out what their bullet points are because I think it's interesting. It's a little bit different than Minnesota, just a little bit, kind of the same, but a little bit different. So I'll probably go through that as well. So a couple of different things to go through tonight. So now the big thing that I've heard about has been that the New York civil yes, for Michigan, absolutely, absolutely. The civil gag order has been stayed. Now, I have not found the order yet. I believe the order was done from the bench. So once we get a printed order, I will go through that. But I just do not have a document as of yet regarding that. So, yes, and I think, with Michigan, I think it's very similar, the rationale as far as who on the primary goes, but also there is this idea of is there really authority or not? So we will see what happens. I'll take you through that. Sue Judge Engeron. Yeah, so Judge Engeron's in a bit of a bind. I would say, there are, as we know, I spoke yesterday about how there was a motion for mistrial that had been filed. And I didn't go through the details because I thought it was poorly written, in my opinion, and still feel that way. So civil is different from federal crime in Georgia. Yes, it is in New York. But I did see if you are interested, you can go to the New York case and look at their docket. There are two people, a judge and a lawyer, who have filed, a retired judge, who have filed motions in support of the mistrial. Now, of course, you're going to have people supporting it and people against it. But I glanced through the motions that they had submitted, and they're pretty rude. They're pretty rude, in my opinion. So I'm not going to go through them because I think it's very unprofessional. Even if you are a retired judge, I don't think the language that he was using was particularly interesting or appropriate. But if you are interested in seeing anything about that, it is online. It has been posted in the docket. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, everybody, with this, but they are moving it forward. So we will see. Yes, there was a retired judge and an attorney. And again, anytime I hear this phrase of like co-ruling from the bench, I think it's very, very insulting because, we may not understand fully how everything works in another court, but, that's not particularly professional. So we do have those. Those are up on the docket if you are interested. So I just wanted to let you know for anyone who is interested. So just to give everybody an update here, we have a couple of motions that were due today, and then we've got another motion due tomorrow. How does filing a mistrial work when there's no jury? Well, it works the same. It's just you are asking for the judge Now, it's interesting to bring up the judge versus a jury because a lot of the rationale for the gag order restriction by the Court of Appeals, from my understanding, is they're saying because this is being tried to a judge instead of to a jury, there's a different standard for those First Amendment questions and less of an issue of prejudicing the jury. Now, when you're doing a motion to, not a motion to dismiss, but a motion for a mistrial, usually it's because something has tainted the jury or there's been some kind of huge error that can't be recovered. So to do a motion for a mistrial for a judge, they're trying to claim in this situation is because he's biased and the rulings that he's making are biased and he can't get a fair trial. But this, again, we're not in criminal court, we're in civil court. So the standards are a little bit different. And I think it is a little bit odd that they're asking for mistrial as opposed to a directed verdict. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. The Supreme Court ruling on the Florida drag. Yes, I can do that. I will put that on my list for sure. I have been trying to keep up with the SCOTUS here, but it's been kind of busy around here lately. So, but absolutely, I will take a look at that. Hello, everybody. So that's kind of a peek into the calendar. Now, just so that we also know here, Canada made a ruling in Trump's favor again today, delaying the trial further. Yes, I saw that. The ruling that I saw actually bumped the hearing back as was requested. He had asked, maybe I'm messing up with DC. Hold on, because I know there were two dates that had been moved. One had been moved forward, one had been moved backwards. So let me just double check and make sure I get that correct. But I didn't see anything that was going to have a significant impact on anything as of major impact. It was a bit of a move, but not too much. Let me just double check here. Okay, so out of the DC case, real quick, let me just take a look. All right, so out of the DC case, on the 13th, we had the most recent order on the extension of time, and that was bumped just a little bit. But then let me check on the Florida case real quick here. Florida. Yeah, I know a lot of people are very concerned about Judge Cannon, and I understand. I didn't see anything that was concerning with her most recent orders, though, but let me just double check. February 15th to the 12th. Right. Yeah, and that was a joint request. Yeah, so the SIPA Section 4 motions have been scheduled for the 15th, but they bumped them back to the 12th, and that's because they had other hearings going on. And that was agreed to. She did issue an order denying without prejudice a 219 motion for a SIPA Section 5 notification. Superseded except for the calendar. So it looks like this was a government motion that was denied. The court reset the first set of pretrial deadlines as indicated on pages 8 and 9 of that order and scheduled a conference for March 1st. To address remaining deadlines. To the extent special counsel's motion seeks reconsideration in part of the court's November 10th order, that request is denied. SIPA Section 5 deadlines and all other pretrial deadlines not included in the first batch of pretrial deadlines contained in the court's revised schedule will be set following the March 1st scheduling conference. Yep. If a mistrial, could they have a jury? No, not in New York. No, the New York case is unique because of the section that is being used from the Attorney General's office. That particular code section has to be brought in a civil court. We don't have a constitutional guarantee to a jury trial, and it sounds to me, there are, of course, some situations where a jury is allowed, but it sounds to me under this section of the code, there is not necessarily a jury that can be pulled in. Is there a way to watch the courts online? Not the federal courts, unfortunately. Our two federal cases in Florida as well as in DC are not being televised, Georgia has all kinds of stuff. Judge McAfee has his own YouTube channel. I guess it's not his, but it's his name. And you can see all of the hearings and so on that they've got there. I would assume, too, the New York criminal case would probably also be televised. But the civil case was supposed to be televised, but then that was changed at the last minute. So have I read the House Ethics Report? So I have gone through this a little bit and highlighted some pieces. I won't be reading every single word, but I think there's some big sections here that are very interesting for us to go through tonight. So I'll go ahead and start with the ethics report, everybody. And then I'm not going to read, like I said, I'm not going to read everything, but there are some really good. I'm in the UK. That's fascinating. Yes. Well, hello, Jennifer. Welcome. It is. Oh, VC. That's so accurate. It is a hot, hot mess. It really is. It really is. So, yeah, so I'll start here and then I will go through kind of the summary of the Michigan dismissal case as well. So, Botox. I saw that too. Oh my gosh. I know. It's a lot. Okay, everybody. So let's get started. I'll go ahead and get in on this. We've got the report that just came out. Again, this is George Santos. Now, I did go through the superseding indictment on a previous live, and just so you know, a lot of that same language has been included in here. So I won't be going through that exact same thing. Added Santos to the folder in the link tree. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So now originally when there was a question about him being sanctioned in front of the House, the big issue was everyone was saying, he needs his due process. So everyone was waiting for this ethics report to come out. Post-it note. Yes, I will get that going here. I've got my notes set next to me. So now that this report is out, they have their due process that they've been requesting. And so at the very end of the report, they do make some recommendations. So we'll take a look at that. So let me go ahead and write out our post-it note here. So we have Santos Ethics Report. Yikes. And it's a doozy, everybody. It's a doozy. Yep. It's definitely something else. All right, so let's get started here. Here we go. Let me get this back on. And so here's our brief outline. Now, I have to admit, as someone that's constantly in the world of outlines, this outline's not the best I've ever seen. I'm going to just say that. So, thank you, Dominic. But I will just say it's not the best outline, but it does the job. So sometimes that's all you can ask for. Is this going to be recorded on your... Yes, it will. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. I will have it up. And probably over the next few days, everybody, I will probably have multiple Tube of You posts coming up. I've got a big stack of them that I need to just put out. So those will be going up. Can people in the UK read all the court papers online? Absolutely, Jennifer. Yeah, you just go online. You can pull these documents up. They're all public records. So all of that is all available online. Okay. So here we go. We'll have an introduction and I will read through that and then I'll kind of skim us through the procedural history. So they went into a subcommittee, a request from the Department of Justice, and then they go into the steps that were taken. So I'll kind of skim us through that. And then we have the findings. This is really where I think it's most interesting. The overview, so I'll read through those, and then substantial evidence of violations of federal law, House rules, and other applicable standards of conduct. 3 subcategories. We have campaign finance violations, which we talked about before, willful and knowing financial disclosure violations, and a lack of diligence and candor during the investigation. So he did not help at all during this investigation, and they dinged him on this for sure. Now, subsection C is also an interesting area I had not seen before, and this includes other allegations that were reviewed by the subcommittee. So we've got number 1, a specific kind of misconduct allegations. Then we have conflict of interest violations and additional allegations that were charged by the Department of Justice. So I will kind of summarize a few bits and then read through other pieces. So let's get started. Also, it is good to note we do have a few appendices And these are just extra evidence that was used to support the report. All right, so let's dive in, everybody. So the introduction is just 2 pages long, and I will read this verbatim before I start to summarize, just because they do such a great job of explaining what's going on here. So I'll take a quick appendices. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wasn't sure. Let me grab a quick sip of tea here. I had a youngster in my world who had a fish whose name was Appendix, and then they got another fish, and so they called them appendices, so they didn't have individuals' names. So I knew it was plural. It just wasn't, just doesn't sound quite right. But all right, here we go. A fundamental tenet of government service is that public office is a public trust. As noted in extensive detail below, the evidence uncovered by the investigative subcommittee, so the ISC, revealed that Representative George Santos cannot be trusted. Wow, that's harsh, just straight out. At nearly every opportunity, he placed his desire for private gain above his duty to uphold the Constitution, federal law, and ethical principles. On February 28th of 2023, the Committee of Ethics unanimously voted to impanel an ISC to review whether Representative Santos may have engaged in unlawful activity with respect to his 2022 first sentence, congressional campaign, failed to properly disclose required information on statements filed with the House, violated federal conflict of interest laws in connection with his role in a firm providing fiduciary services, and or engaged in this particular kind of misconduct towards an individual seeking employment in his congressional office. So this last allegation, I did not see that in the superseding indictment. So, In May of 2023, the ISC expanded its jurisdiction to review additional allegations that were the subject of a federal indictment filed against Representative Santos in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York. A superseding indictment was filed October 10th, charging Representative Santos with a total of 23 counts of criminal activity. The ISC reviewed the allegations underlying those charges as well as a broader range of alleged misconduct beyond the scope of the indictments. Representative Santos has been the subject of significant public reporting about his many alleged fabrications, including allegations that he lied about his degrees, his religion, his work experience, his family, and numerous other aspects of his biography. But Representative Santos's lies go far beyond inaccuracies. Who on a resume? Yikes. The ISC's investigation revealed a complex web of unlawful activity involving Representative Santos's campaign, personal and business finances. Representative Santos sought to fraudulently exploit every aspect of his House candidacy for his own personal financial profit. He blatantly stole from his campaign. He deceived donors into providing what they thought were contributions to his campaign, but were in fact payments for his personal benefit. He reported fictitious loans to his political committees to induce donors and party committees to make further contributions to his campaign, and then diverted more campaign money to himself as purported repayments of those fictitious loans. Yikes. He used his connections to high-value donors and other political campaigns to obtain additional funds for himself through fraudulent or otherwise questionable business dealings. And he sustained all of this through a constant series of lies to his constituents, donors, and staff about his background and experience. The ISC determined that there was substantial evidence that Representative Santos violated federal criminal laws, some of which are the subject of the pending charges filed against him in court. The ISC also found substantial evidence of additional unlawful conduct by Representative Santos, including evidence that he withheld or falsified information on statutorily required disclosures of his campaign and personal finances to the Federal Election Commission and the House, respectively, and converted campaign funds to his personal use. Despite Representative Santos's efforts to blame his former treasurer for the numerous campaign finance violations, the ISC's record demonstrates that he was a knowing and active participant in the misconduct. Oh, goodness. Okay, let's continue on with the introduction here. Ooh. All right. Well, Representative Santos has claimed, both through counsel before the ISC and to the media, he would fully cooperate with the ISC's review. That was another lie. Throughout this matter, Representative Santos evaded the ISC's straightforward request for information. The limited responses he did provide included material misstatements that further advanced falsehoods he made during his 2022 campaign. He has also continued to flout his statutory disclosure obligations and failed to provide the American public a timely and truthful accounting of his finances. Based on the unique and unprecedented circumstances in this case, the ISC unanimously determined that the committee's duty to safeguard the integrity of the House in the interest of justice warranted the immediate disclosure of its findings. Oh, goodness. Pursuant to Committee Rule 19G, the ISC has decided to transmit this report to the committee and not bring specific charges against Representative Santos in order to avoid substantially interfering with the Department of Justice's ongoing and active prosecution of Representative Santos and others for related allegations. The committee has already devoted substantial resources to this matter, and Representative Santos has declined every opportunity to make his case before it. For these reasons, the ISC recommends the committee immediately refer the substantial evidence of potential violations of federal criminal law to the DOJ. The ISC further recommends that the committee adopt this report and publicly condemn Representative Santos for his conduct, which the ISC found to be beneath the dignity of the office and to have brought severe discredit upon the House. Yikes! That's a pretty severe language here. Take a tea break before we get into the procedural history. So it sounds like they even have more criminal recommendations than what has already been filed. So I'm going to kind of skim us through this next piece here so we can really get into the findings. Procedural history. So first, establishment of the investigative subcommittee. Shortly after November of 2020, news reports raised doubts about claims that Santos made during his campaign regarding his education, work, and family history. Questions also arose regarding hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of loans he purportedly made to his campaign and the accuracy of his financial disclosure statements filed with the House. On January 10th, a couple of representatives sent the committee a letter offered as a complaint requesting an investigation into whether Santos had failed to file timely, accurate, and complete financial statements and raising questions regarding these loans. February 3rd, the committee received the letter from an individual who had applied for a position with Representative Santos, in which the individual alleged that Representative Santos had harassed him and violated House rules related to the use of volunteers. In addition, several resolutions have been introduced in the House regarding Representative Santos's alleged conduct. February 21st, the OCE, or the Office of Congressional Ethics, notified the committee that it had been doing a preliminary review. February 28th, so 1 week later, at its organizational meeting, the committee unanimously voted to impanel the ISC to review whether Santos may have engaged in unlawful activity with respect to his 2022 congressional campaign. Now, they're pulling the rule out here that they're using, Rule 17A sub K, stating that they can make the request regarding this kind of an investigation. So that's the next piece here. Again, I'm kind of skipping through the procedural history so we can get into more of the findings here. March 29th, after the Ethics Board notified the committee it had authorized a second phase review of the matter, the committee requested the Ethics board ceased its review of allegations relating to Representative Santos because of the ISC's ongoing investigation into the matter. So, notwithstanding the committee's request and applicable House rules, on May 1st, the OCE transmitted a report and findings to the committee. And then we've got this footnote here, number 7, which takes us to a report and supplemental information from that Office of Congressional Ethics Review, so the OCE. When transmitting the referral, the OCE board included a letter stating it considered the committee's cease and refer request approximately 3 weeks after the committee sent the request, at which time the board voted to truncate its investigation and refer findings to the committee. The OCE continued review of allegations and referrals and findings following a cease and refer request from the committee was not consistent with the House rules, so I guess they're frustrated with that. Moving on, May 10th, an indictment was unsealed from the Eastern District of New York, charging Representative Santos with 5 counts of wire fraud in connection with fraudulent political contribution schemes, 3 counts of unlawful monetary transactions, 1 count of theft of public money, and 2 counts of fraudulent application for and receipt of unemployment benefits, 2 counts of false statements in connection with his 2020 and 2022 House financial disclosure statements. Here we go. I think they were, I saw here why the cease request. So I think, Jordy, what they're saying is there were too many investigations going on. And so they had wanted one set of investigations to pause so it didn't interfere with the other set of investigations. This happens a lot, actually, in even outside of this kind of a situation. If we've got multiple jurisdictions involved in a criminal investigation, for example, we've got a city, a county, and a state. And so the city and county are investigating. So the state may step back and ask the city, like, hey, can you guys pause it for a minute so that we can see if there are any state charges? And then the state will say to the county also, like, why don't you guys go ahead and then we'll come in after you. So sometimes there can be crossing jurisdictional issues. So that's why I believe they were requesting that. Pursuant to House Rule 11 and this clause, when a member is indicted or otherwise formally charged with criminal code or with criminal conduct in a federal, state, or local court, the committee shall either impanel an ISC or submit a report. On June 20th, the committee unanimously voted to expand the ISC's jurisdiction to include allegations in the indictment. Then later, on August 10th, a superseding indictment was filed against Representative Santos, charging him with additional 10 counts related to his conduct during the 2022 campaign. 1 count of conspiracy, 2 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of false statements, 2 counts of falsification of records, 2 counts of aggravated identity theft. And that was pretty bad. That was a relative of his, wasn't it? If everyone remembers. And 1 count of access device fraud. Many of the new allegations in the superseding indictment were already under investigation by the ISC. So again, we have kind of this crossover of jurisdictions here. Representative Santos has pled not guilty to all of the charges. His criminal trial is scheduled to begin September 9th of 2024, anticipated to last at least 3 weeks. I have not included this trial date on our calendar. We've just got too much stuff going on right now. I'm just putting it out there. All right, so next, again, I'm going to just kind of skim through this. It's a pretty long report, so we'll skim through this part as well until we can kind of get to the findings. Deferral request from the Department of Justice. Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution grants each chamber of Congress the power to punish its members for disorderly behavior and, with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. House rules direct the committee to enforce the standards of conduct for members and investigate any alleged violation by a member of code or of official conduct or of law, rule, regulation, or other standard of conduct applicable to the conduct of the member. The committee reviews law enforcement deferral requests on a case-by-case basis, taking into consideration the particular circumstances of each case. And then they're just citing the rule that allows for that. Prior to the establishment of the why is the trial a year away? I would say that's pretty normal to set out the docket that far. That's absolutely normal. So the superseding came in October. Now, typically, unless there has been a request for speedy trial, it can take up to a year or so. They probably have pushed it out that far just to make sure all of the time limits can be met. So it's not that unusual, especially in a case when a docket as busy as the New York court is. So, all right. So prior to establishment of the ISC, so that special committee, the committee contacted the Department of Justice to determine whether it wished to formally request any actions by the committee to mitigate interference with any investigation of the Representative Santos. Now, mitigate just means to make it so that they were not interfering with the DOJ's investigation. They did not make any such requests and indicated it would follow up with the committee at a later date. So on March 24th, the DOJ formally requested a full deferral by the committee of all investigative activity relating to Santos. Now, the ISC weighed DOJ's full deferral request against its obligation to safeguard the integrity of the House and the unprecedented nature of this case, which, in addition to serious allegations of misconduct, also involved a formal complaint, a House resolution referring the matter to the committee, a request by an individual who had applied for a position in Representative Santos's congressional office for an investigation of allegations of this kind of misconduct, and a referral from the OCE based on its constitutional and rule-based mandates, its unique circumstances of this case, and the ISC's concern that fully deferring to the DOJ until the conclusion of the criminal prosecution would effectively prevent the committee from exercising any oversight. The ISC determined to conduct a review of the allegations while continuing to communicate with the DOJ. So the DOJ had asked them to pause and had said, hey, can you guys pause it? And they said, we can't actually. We'll be careful, but we're not going to pause our investigation. They posted the transcripts of, yes, yep, absolutely. And it's very interesting. So that's the update there. And then C, investigative steps taken by the ISC. So again, just to kind of do an overview of this investigation, the ISC met 9 times over the course of its investigation, authorized 37 subpoenas and 43 voluntary requests for information, leading to its receipt of over 172,000 pages of documents. The ISC also contacted or interviewed over 40 witnesses and reviewed materials received from the OCE, which is that ethics committee, and relevant court records. Representative Santos did not fully cooperate with the investigation, and they had asked him for some information on March 10th. However, he provided only partial responses to those requests. Many of the documents that he did provide came after long delays. So he was not very helpful at all. On October 17th, they had advised Santos of his right pursuant to the committee to respond to the allegations requested that it inform him whether he would agree to voluntarily be interviewed and or submit a written response under oath by November 1st. Representative Santos's counsel advised, pursuant to my advice and pending criminal allegations, Representative Santos declines to voluntarily appear to be interviewed by the committee. And that's smart too. That's very smart. That would have been a huge problem. Representative Santos did not submit a written response to the allegations. So we'll just kind of skip again. So they went further on to continue their investigation, looking into their witnesses and such. So that takes us then to the findings. All right, let me take a tea break here. I will read the overall findings and then we'll kind of jump through the rest of them. But it's really, it's pretty thorough in my opinion. Okay. Representative Santos has been a member of the U.S. House of Representatives since 2023. Has it only been since 2023, everybody? It seems like a lot longer. It really does. It really seems like a lot longer. Representing New York's 3rd Congressional District, Nancy Marks served as treasurer for Representative Santos's political committees during his 2022 campaign and his unsuccessful 2020 congressional campaign. 2023 was a long year. It certainly was. Oh my gosh. His congressional campaigns were built around his backstory as a successful man of means, a grandson of a Holocaust survivors and graduate from Baruch College with a master's in business administration from New York University, who went on to work at Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, owned multiple properties, and was the beneficiary of a family trust worth millions of dollars left by his mother, who passed years after the 9/11 terrorist attacks as a result of long-term health effects related to being in one of the towers. I forgot how extensive these untruths were. So they're citing different articles where he set out his backstory here. No part of that backstory has been found to be true. Yikes! No part. Ouch. Since winning his election, Representative Santos has admitted that he embellished parts of his background in order to be taken seriously as a candidate. However, the ISC's review revealed significantly more fraudulent activity by Representative Santos. As an initial matter, members of Santos's own campaign staff viewed him as a fabulist whose penchant for telling lies was so concerning that he was encouraged to seek treatment. Oh dear. Oh my goodness. Oh no, that's bad when you've got an intervention and they're citing a particular interview of a particular witness here. His campaign filings and House financial statements are replete with so many errors and omissions that they cannot be reasonably relied upon. Those errors go far beyond an embellished resume and include numerous misrepresentations to the government and the public about his and his campaign's financial activities. Santos's omissions are more than just embellishments intended to cover up his embarrassment about not having the academic pedigree he claimed. His missing disclosures hid his disreputable business dealings that coincided with his campaign for Congress. Santos defrauded his own donors by using their actual and purported campaign contributions to personally enrich himself. His misrepresentations and lack of transparency have continued during his tenure in Congress, including in connection with the ISC's review. Although he has assured the public that he will fully cooperate with the ISC's investigation, he has failed to provide documents in response to an RFI issued over 8 months ago, and through his counsel declined to consent to involuntary interview. When reporting errors in his campaign filings with the FEC were initially uncovered, Santos attempted to cast himself as an unknown victim of Miss Marks' incompetence and claimed that she went rogue. Yes, it sounds familiar, doesn't it, everybody? This does sound a bit familiar. Far from going rogue, Miss Marks has admitted to conspiring with Santos to submit false reports to the FEC, and the ISC's record established that Santos was heavily involved in the day-to-day financial operations of his campaigns. Santos had login credentials to access the campaign's bank accounts online, reviewed FEC reports, tracked money as it was coming and going out of the bank accounts online. As it was coming out of the campaign, I bumped a line there. Reviewed invoices and received weekly finance reports. All of the campaign staff the ISC spoke with testified that Santos had a close relationship with Ms. Marks, with whom he frequently interacted. And one staff member likened the campaign finances to a black box that only Santos and Ms. Marks could access. At multiple points during his campaign, staff raised concerns they had about Ms. Marks directly with Santos, including issues relating to her timeliness, reporting, and organization. However, he did not take substantive steps to address these concerns. Instead, he told staff that Ms. Marks was untouchable, ostensibly to continue the schemes that they had undertaken. I had a boss like that once with a secretary. She's untouchable. I'm sorry, what was that, sir? Despite his protests, many of the public revelations following Santos's election could not have surprised him. Members of his own campaign team presented him with let's pause for a moment and bump down and take a look here. With these different footnotes, we've got Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2 that they went through. So they're just citing their sources down here. We had a witness described Santos and Miss Marks to be like siblings, close friends, and very chummy. Another interview, Santos was pretty involved and very much trying to keep track of what he needed to raise and where we were at. Another witness, Santos was hands-on with respect to campaign's financial operations. Another witness stating that Santos was extremely involved in the day-to-day financial operations of the campaign. Witness 6, Santos was hands-on when it came to the campaign money. Then they cited another interview with another witness. Witness number 3, discussing her and the staff's concern about Miss Marks' lack of responsiveness, timeliness in reporting. Witness number 2, discussing how she brought her concerns about duplicates and incorrect information reports to Santos, maybe more than 5 times, but really it didn't seem like a lot of effort was made to address her concerns. And then the last footnote here goes into Santos told the staffer he trusted Miss Marks due to her reputation and experience as a treasurer for high-profile clients in New York. Witness number 4, those other committees do not appear to have nearly the same volume of errors that plagued Santos's campaign. The ISC obtained and reviewed banked records for certain other campaign bank accounts managed by Miss Marks and did not see the same patterns of activity. So just as a way to follow up and support the evidence here. So let's bump to the next page. Members of his own campaign team presented him with a 141-page vulnerability report. Wow, that's really helpful. On December 1st of 2021, which raised a number of issues regarding his background, as well as his personal and campaign disclosures, including among the following things. So this is part of his employees' report that they put together. Can you imagine putting together a report of 141 pages of a candidate that you're working for and saying, wow, you've got some problems? That's a lot. That's a lot. Here's the first one. No evidence to support Santos's claims to have graduated with an MBA from New York University and a Bachelor of Economics and Finance from this college. So that's pretty significant. I mean, just the basics of where you got your degree from. Questions regarding how he loaned his 2020 campaign over $80,000 when his personal financial disclosures did not show any assets and only a $55,000 salary. That's another valid question. Questions regarding his claims to have extensive background in money management and growth, but no reported personal investments or assets. Questions regarding his failure to report salary from the Harbor City Capital Management, which was under investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's never a good sign. And his failure to file his 2021 financial disclosure statement. So those are some big red flags, everybody. Again, this was a report done by his employees. Yeah, it's a good question. As a result of the report, Santos was encouraged by his campaign staff to drop out of the race. Oh, now I didn't know that. Did anyone know that? I didn't know that. When he refused, 3 staffers quit his campaign altogether. This was a key moment wherein Santos could have put an end to all of the lies he told, or at a minimum, take steps to correct the record about his background and personal and campaign finances. Instead, he downplayed the significance of the report, telling new staff who were brought on to replace those that had left and those who stayed that the report was inaccurate. Yikes. Following the turnover in his campaign staff, he continued to lie about his background and found more ways to defraud his campaign supporters. He filed a second financial disclosure statement filled with falsehoods designed to make him appear wealthier than he was, and furthered the fictional persona he had concocted by falsely reporting more than $500,000 in loans to the FEC. Whoa. Tea break. Thanks, Dan. I was just thinking that. Oh, goodness. On May 10th, Santos was charged in New York with wire fraud in connection to fraudulent political contribution scheme. Now, I've kind of gone through that a wire fraud situation. So it had multiple pieces involved, including different people's credit cards and false statements. So I won't go through that again. The ISC determined there was substantial evidence of violations of federal law, House rules, and other applicable standards related to many of the allegations charged in the indictment, and substantial evidence of additional uncharged unlawful and unethical conduct. These additional violations relate to falsely reported loans reportedly received by his 2020 campaign and leadership. If it isn't me, if it wasn't me, then I did nothing wrong. Right. I don't know. I think a lot of people are asking a lot of pretty good questions. Are you sure he's not related to Trump? Well, I don't know. A bit of this sounds a bit familiar. All right. So improper loan repayments, systematic reporting errors, FEC filing, substantial evidence campaign funds were converted to personal use. Also identified additional errors and omissions in his 2020 and 2022 financial disclosure statements, as well as violations of federal law, House rules as related to his unfiled 2021 and 2023 financial disclosure statements, which were not charged in the indictment. Also found Representative Santos failed to meet his duty of candor with respect to the ISC's investigation and instead presented the ISC with misrepresentations and delay tactics, which makes sense. Repeat a lie often enough, it becomes a truth. That's a true story. And I'll keep saying that until everybody believes me. All right, subsection B, substantial evidence of violations of federal law, House rules, and other applicable standards of conduct. So I'm not going to go verbatim through all of the different campaign allegations because there's so much. There's just so much financials. So we'll do kind of an intro piece here to give you some idea. The ISC uncovered significant campaign finance violations by Santos and his campaign committees during 2020 and 2022 election cycles. Many of the errors related to improper reporting to the FEC, including with respect to falsely reporting personal loans from Santos and thousands of dollars in unreported disbursements and receipts, including excessive contributions from a state political committee that Santos helped manage. Can you scoot the page to the left? Oh, sure. The whole page. Hold on, let me double check. Is the top part's in frame, I bet, and the other part's not. Let me bump this a little bit. There we go, everybody. That should be better. Is that better? No bail for Santos. I know. I know. Yikes, better. Okay, excellent. So again, they go into how he's blaming Miss Marks, the treasurer here. Excellent. Thanks, Mads. Blaming her for her bookkeeping skills or lack thereof. Let's see. So, again, this just goes into more details of how much money was involved in the campaign contributions issues. This is all set out in the superseding indictment. Now, Santos's initial counsel before the ISC also served as counsel to the campaign, and their duties included reviewing the campaign's FEC filings prior to their submission. In August of 2021, Santos stated that he wanted counsel to serve as an extra set of eyes to help review the campaign's reports to be 100% on it all. In reality, however, his campaign counsel did not review the campaign's reports until later in 2022. And the law firm does not appear to have been entrusted with the campaign's underlying bank records, which would have shown the campaign's reports to the FEC contained errors and omissions. Uh-oh. Now we've got the law firm involved. Why do we always have law firms involved? Oh my gosh. Okay, when reviewing the reports, counsel made clear that their assumption was that the information in the reports was reportedly correct. Now this does sound familiar, doesn't it? Nullifying any effective assistance that could have been provided. All right. And then here's just kind of like the overall view here when it comes to what the rules are. Know or should know of ethical violations that occur within the organization that they oversee. Abdicate their duty to supervise the staff to whom they delegate substantial responsibilities, disregard concerns as they are brought to their attention, and hamstring compliance professionals by not supplying necessary information or providing false information. So we have rules, and that means that members are held accountable if they violate them. Maybe it had a worthless clause. I don't know, but a valid question these days. I myself am now wondering what I've been doing without a worthless clause all these years. So, the ISC was not swayed by Santos's attempts to blame others. He was the ultimate beneficiary and knowing participant of much of the fraudulent reporting, as the falsely reported personal loans and contributions helped him meet benchmarks needed to win the support of the National Party and project a strong campaign to the public. Even if Representative Santos was not aware of all of the other errors in his campaign reports relating to other receipts and disbursements, he had his own concerns and was repeatedly advised by multiple members of his team about concerns regarding mismarks, but he failed to take meaningful action. So he knew that there were problems and didn't go forward. So, substantial evidence of violations related to personal loans. So here's the background for that. According to the FEC reports, personal loans totaling near $800,000 to his campaign committee, $27,000 in personal loans to his leadership PAC. As detailed below, the ISC determined there is substantial evidence most of the reported personal loans were not actually made or properly disclosed to the FEC. Santos was also improperly repaid for the loans that were not made. So let's take a look here what they've got. Yay, a chart. Woohoo! So this is going to be very similar again to what was in the indictment. Oh, only $800,000. I know, right? It wasn't 1.5 billion. So what's the problem? Oh my goodness. It's a lot. All right. So the following chart summarizes the 6 personal loans Santos's campaign committee made versus whether any of the loans were actually made during the 2020 cycle. So this chart again is the same chart as what's in the indictment. So they just set out the reported date of the loan, the reported amount of loan, the actual loan date, and the actual loan amount here. So that's how they're crunching. Yeah, I know. Actual amount of the loan, 0, 0, 0. This one's also 0. So not any. So that's interesting. The FEC filing, there wasn't one. The reported loan date wasn't one. Reported loan amount, not one. The actual loan date, February 13th, and it was for $1,500. So that one does have an amount. That's not very good. That's not how you're supposed to do it. I'm not an accountant, but that's questionable. Very questionable, everybody. I think it's pretty questionable. All right, so here's chart 1. There's more charts, so never you worry. Oh my gosh. So the ISC reviewed the campaign's bank records as well as financial statements for accounts held by Santos, found no evidence that 5 of the 6 reported loans were ever made. With respect to the first 3 loans, the campaign's December 2019 and January 2020 bank statements did not show Santos transferring any funds to the campaign or transfers to the campaign from any other source equaling the reported loans. Yikes. The campaign's March 2020 statement did show a $2,000 wire from George A. DeVolder Santos. So we do have a $2,000 right here. Oh my gosh. And the ISC located a statement that located a corresponding transfer from one of Santos's personal savings accounts to the campaign on March 9th of 2020 from the same amount. However, the ISC found no records of $50,000 or the $1,200 loan from Santos on or around March 31st and June 25th. Additional transfer of the campaign to the campaign that originated from the bank account controlled by Santos. $1,500 cashier's check deposited by the campaign on February 13th, and the check was not reported to the FEC. So you're not supposed to do that. Oh my gosh, look at this. So reported versus actual cash on hand. So here it says reported cash on hand at the close of the reporting period is $4,297. Actual ending account balance is $150.43. So that's pretty significant. Yes, Roberta. Yes, I saw that. That'll be interesting once that report comes down. April 15th, we've got $54,988.51. Actual amount, $1,310. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, wow. So these, yeah, just a few cents off. Oh my goodness. So here's our quarterly report, $73,355. Actual ending account balance was $13,761. Those are some pretty significant discrepancies. Despite reporting the higher cash on hand totals, the reality was the campaign did not have the funds to pay outstanding debts. At least one campaign staffer went 8 months without being paid for his work. Oh, that's awful. Oh, and that apparently is witness 4. So I'm sorry about that, witness 4. I feel bad for you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, just fudging it a little bit. So next we've got another chart here. And this one's got, again, the loan amount and the repayment details set out. So 2019 to 2020 repayments. Here we have the loan amount, repayments through check. So these numbers are set out, although this March 31st, 50,000 one does not have a payment back. The 5 repayments were reported to the FEC in a Schedule C of the company's amended year-end report, were deposited into accounts owned and controlled by Santos. As noted previously, the ISC only found evidence that Santos made the March 10 loan for $2,000. Thus, he was reimbursed for 4 campaign loans totaling $29,200 that were not made. Wow. So he was reimbursed for these loans that he didn't actually take. But wait, there's more. I know. Oh my gosh. In response to requests from the ISC, Santos counsel stated that he put his trust in Miss Marks, that it is unclear whether Santos ever made any personal loans to his 2020 campaign, and that the reporting of these loans was a result of Miss Marks's incompetence. Although counsel advised that they would update the committee when we receive more information on the issue, no further information or materials were provided by Santos regarding the 2020 personal loans he purportedly made to his campaign or of the repayments he received. Evidence provided by other witnesses indicate that contrary to counsel's assertions, the reports of loan payments were based on information Santos provided to Ms. Marks. And Santos was aware of the reported loans at the time. Santos and Marks exchanged contemporaneous text messages discussing that at least one of the loans had not been made, but had been included in the campaign's reports, and his campaign staff testified that Santos discussed making $80,000 in loans to his 2020 campaign. Oh my gosh. The December vulnerability report commissioned by the campaign was shared with Santos. The report raised similar questions. If all else fails, blame the woman. Well, or the bean counter, whoever's counting the beans. Oh my gosh. Regarding his ability to make personal loans to his 2020 campaign, in 2020, Santos loaned his campaign more than $81,000. His personal financial disclosure from 2020 does not show any assets and only a $55,000 annual salary. The report led to the departure of some of his campaign staff. However, Santos did not cause his campaign reports disclosing these loans to be amended, and said the contents of the report were not worrisome to him. Yikes. Well, they're worrisome to me. I find that worrisome myself. All right, here's another one. So that was part 1. Here's the next part 2, the 2022 campaign loans. So here's our next chart. Oh my goodness. The following chart summarizes the loans Santos Campaign Committee, Devolder Santos for Congress, originally reported receiving from him during the 2022 election cycle. So we've got 3 different sets, 80,000, 500,000, and 125,000, which totals $705,000. The ISC reviewed the campaign's bank records and other accounts held by Santos, but found no evidence of the 80,000 and 500,000 loans ever being made. He was referring to his brand value loans. Oh my gosh. No, not the brand value. No. The loans are worth as much as someone's willing to pay for them, right? Oh my gosh. So Santos did not have sufficient funds in his bank accounts to loan his campaign these amounts. That's just like, that's basic math. Like, that's something even I could understand. Oh, I'm not saying something. Let's bump down into these footnotes here. So for 57 up here, they've done so many footnotes in this. We have over 100 footnotes, but the loan was not originally disclosed. Here, the campaign filed an amended report disclosing the loan and indicating at the same time that it had been fully repaid. The report and receipts of disbursements here, let me just skim through here, explaining sufficient information about the loan had not been reported, including with respect to repayment of the loan and whether the source of the loan was personal funds of the candidate. There's a letter from the FEC analysis. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's adorable. Denise Stilla to Miss Marks, the treasurer. On March 16th, the campaign amended the report again. I'm sorry, but sounds like a villain name. Well, it kind of does, doesn't it? I think I agree. Like Cruella DeVille, right? Amended July 2021 here. So we're skipping down. It looks like there were multiple letters and then amendments were made, but the amendments weren't very accurate. So that's kind of what's going on in here. And then the loan was not originally disclosed again down here. So they're going through each one and saying, hey, they noticed that there were problems. And then the amendments weren't sufficient to correct those problems. All right, so next page. Oh my goodness, Miss Marks. Right. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh, right. In its 2023 April quarterly report on April 15th, Santos's campaign committee did not report the $80,000 and $500,000 loans. That's such a big, I mean, that's $500,000, right? I mean, 80,000, whatever, that's pocket change, but $500,000 loan. I'm taking up drinking after this. Footnote 99. Just hold on to your hat. There's a lot more footnotes. Oh my gosh. Instead, the campaign reported personal loans as follows. So these were personal loans again. Oh my gosh. $300,000, $100,000, $100,000 again, $90,000, $125,000 for a total of $715,000. Maybe he needed new shoes. Maybe like space shoes? Like what kind of shoes cost that? Like shoes to walk on the moon? Oh my gosh. Oh, you want my pockets? Well, I mean, compared to 500,000, right? Oh my gosh, this was a lot, everybody. It was a lot. All right, let's skip through the footnotes here. Oh, this is too many, too many footnotes. All right, Santos's campaign has not amended the relevant past filings with the same information, which more accurately reflects the campaign's bank accounts. The ISC reviewed evidence that the campaign's bank account received $715,000 from several bank accounts Santos owned or controlled on the following dates. So look at this. They're tracking the money. Personal savings account, 300, personal savings account, 100,000, another $100,000. A Devolder organization checking account is 90,000, and then that same checking account for 125,000. Just before making these loans to his campaign, Santos and two companies he owned or controlled were paid $800,000 in 3 installments. So this was, I think, part of the part of the indictment here. So let's bump down here. The transfer originated from individual 4 in an entity owned by individual 4's family member, company 2. The ISC found some evidence that Santos provided some services to individual 4 and company 2. However, given the timing, amount, and other circumstances of the payments, the ISC had serious questions regarding whether these payments were intended to benefit Santos's campaign and were thus unlawful excessive contributions. The ISC was unable to further pursue these questions due to the DOJ's specific deferral requests. Yes, so we've got mysterious services, everybody. Wow, my gosh. The plot thickens. Individual 4 was the one worked without pay for 8 months. I think we have several individual 4s, everybody. Too, if you remember in that superseding indictment, one of the credit cards had been charged up. I think at least $100,000. Yeah, mysterious services. That's very questionable. Questionable. Oh my goodness. All right. Without these payments, Santos would not have had the funds to make these loans to his campaign. Santos's counsel told FEC the initial reporting of the loans during the 2022 campaign was baffling, and that for some reason, Miss Marks reported the wrong amounts, totals, and dates. Again, going to Miss Marks. Wow. Counsel's attempt to paint the falsely reported loans as mix-ups of dates and other numbers was not supported by the evidence, and there was no explanation provided for how Miss Marks could have reported the wrong numbers for loans that did not exist at the time they were reported. The ISC requested, but Santos did not produce all of his communications regarding these loans. Other individuals who cooperated with the ISC's review provided records showing that throughout his 2022 campaign, Santos received or exchanged emails indicating he was aware that his campaign had reported receiving $800,000 and $500,000 in loans from him. He also received internal campaign weekly finance reports stating he made $580,000 in personal loans to the campaign throughout the spring of 2022. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. Oh my gosh. All right. On October 5th, one count criminal information was filed by New York charging Miss Marks with conspiring to commit offenses against the U.S. government in connection with falsely reporting the $500,000 personal loan, among other offenses. According to the information, Miss Marks and co-conspirator 1, which is Representative Santos, agreed to falsely report to the FEC and that he had loaned his campaign significant amounts of money when he had not made the reported loans and did not have the funds necessary to make such loans. The information alleged the $500,000 loan in particular was falsely reported to make the campaign committee appear more financially sound in order to mislead the FEC. Oh my gosh. Yikes. The National Republican Congressional Committee and the public, so that Representative Santos would receive campaign support from the National Republican Congressional Committee. Yikes. She pled guilty to the conspiracy charge on the same date that it was filed. Whoa. During her guilty plea hearing, she testified under oath, quote, "I admit to all the actions attributed to me in the information, and I filed the first quarter 2022 report stating the $500,000 was loaned to the campaign by Santos and the money was not received at that time," end quote. Wow, that's significant. Let's bump down here. So we've got Exhibit 23. Must be a transcript of that hearing. Yikes. On October 10th, the superseding indictment was filed, charging Santos with additional offenses, including conspiracy to falsify records and related offenses in connection with the reporting of the $500,000. On October 26th, Santos pleaded not guilty to all charges. The ISC determined there's substantial evidence Santos was an active and knowing participant in the scheme to falsely report personal loans during his 2022 campaign based on Miss Marks' guilty plea and sworn admissions to the court, as well as contemporaneous records evidencing Santos' awareness of how the loans were being reported. The same day. So is that normal to have a guilty plea on the same day that the information is filed? No, it's not. That is very unusual. So when a indictment comes down, you usually are like, wow, there's an indictment. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what evidence they have. Let's, think about this and sort this out. But she was like, guilty, did it, sorry. Like, wow, that never happens. It really is very rare. Very, very rare. All right, number 3, the 2022 Leadership PAC personal loans. So we've got another batch here of personal loans again. We'll kind of skim through this a little bit. Thank you, Sarah. Skim through the deets on this so we can get to the next batch. Okay. So, is a loan a promise note? See, Amber Heard. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. All right. So, here's another batch of loans again through here. I'm going to skim through this one. We've got money all over the place here. We've got another batch as well, reported loan repayments here as well. Again, now they set out relevant laws, rules, and other applicable standards of conduct. So now they're just setting out what the rules are, the House rules that he violated regarding filing proper information. So I won't spend too much time just rereading those rules because, again, those are just House rules that they're going through. What's really important, though, that we would want to note are the United States Code sections that have been violated. So there are multiple sections of law, of federal law, that has been violated. So 18 U.S.C. Section 371, again, these were all charged offenses. If two or more persons conspire to commit any offense against the United States or to defraud the United States or any agency thereof in any manner for any purpose, and one or more of such persons do not act to effect the object of the conspiracy, each shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. So that's the conspiracy piece. 18 U.S.C. Section 1001 applies to anyone who knowingly and willfully falsifies, conceals, or covers up by any trick, scheme, or device a material fact, makes any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representation, or 3, makes or uses any false writing or document, knowing the same to contain any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or entry. So, and then the next piece here, Section 1519. Whoever knowingly alters, destroys, mutilates. Does this language sound familiar to anybody? Conceals, covers up, falsifies, or makes a false entry in a record, document, or tangible object with the intent to impede, obstruct, or influence the investigation or proper administration of any matter within the jurisdiction of any department or agency of the United States, or any case filed under Title 11, or in relation to or contemplation of any such matter or case, shall be fined under this title, imprisoned not more than 20 years. So that's 20 years. Yep. And then we've got the House rule here. So again, I won't spend much time going through that because we've still got quite a bit more of this report to do. So, and then he also violated a House rule. In my opinion, not quite as significant as violation of federal law. Here are the findings as well, and they received substantial evidence that personal loans were falsely reported by Santos's campaign committee and the leadership PAC during 2020 and 2022. Moreover, Ms. Marks pled guilty, testified under oath to conspiring with Santos to falsely report loans that were not made in an effort to deceive multiple organizations here. So next, we'll bump down to this next category, additional FEC reporting errors and personal use of campaign funds. All right, so let's take a look here. In addition to the falsely reported personal loans, let's get the sticky note back up, everybody. There were numerous other errors and omissions in Representative Santos's campaign finance reports. Those reports also contain evidence that campaign funds were converted to Santos's personal use. In the supplemental information transmitted to the committee, OCF noted Santos's campaign reported 4D disbursements valued between $199 and $200 in 2021, 37 of which were for exactly $199.99. That's interesting. But OCE was unable to verify the legitimacy of those expenditures. OCE also highlighted certain unreported transfers and unidentified deposits to and from the campaign bank account in 2022, including an unreported $20,000 transfer from the campaign to Divulger organization on November 29th, along with inconsistencies between the FEC reported disbursements and campaign expenditures. The ISC confirmed these reported discrepancies with respect to the disbursements between $199 to $200. They found that these did not correspond to actual payments by the campaign. The $20,000 transfer to a Divulger organization account requested by Ms. Marks' staff was made at the time when the account had a negative balance. Wow, that doesn't make sense. Oh dear. In the week after it was transferred to DeVolder Organization, it was used to make about $6,000 worth of purchases at Ferragamo stores. What? I know I'm saying the name incorrectly, but that's a shoe store, isn't it? Hold on just a minute. $6,000 in shoes? Can you move page more to the right? You got it. Oh my goodness. Let me see here if I can get that better positioned. Okay, did I? Okay, so we got shoes. Okay, we got shoes. Yep, you got it. You're right, Murray. That was crazy of me to doubt you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, withdraw $800 in cash from an ATM at a casino. All right, withdraw $1,000 in cash from an ATM near Santos's apartment and to pay Santos's rent. Yikes. All right. ISE uncovered more extensive errors and inconsistency that discussed in public reports OCE's supplemental information. There were numerous unreported transfers to and from the campaign bank account, including transfers of campaign funds to accounts owned or controlled by Ms. Marks. An unreported $10,000 transfer, oh my gosh, from the campaign to Santos's company, DeVolder Organization, and unreported transfers worth over $50,000 between the campaign and Rise. Those transfers included $18,700 on January 25th, transfer from campaign to Rise, a $7,000 deposit from Rise to the campaign February 1st, $18,800 transfer April 22nd, two unreported deposits of $20,000 and $15,000 from Rise to the campaign on June 21st and September 26th, respectively. Rise is a New York State political committee that was created by Santos shortly after his 2020 election with his sister, Tiffany, who helped manage and whose treasurer was Ms. Marks. According to one campaign staffer, Santos was advised by his campaign counsel to close down Rise while running for federal office. The guidance was not followed. Instead, money flowed back and forth between Santos's campaign and Rise and was not reported to the FEC. What? That's really bad, everybody. That's really bad. The footnotes here are just citing different witness reports and interview. So next, according to Ms. Marks's October 5th guilty plea, that's never a good sign when you're pulling evidence from somebody's guilty plea. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Santos was also involved in a conspiracy to falsify information related to the names of certain campaign contributors. Ms. Marks testified that she, in agreement with Santos, filed a list of false donors with the FEC on the year-end 2021 report, knowing it was not true, and the donors, who are the real people, didn't give their permission to use their names. As with the falsified loans discussed above, Ms. Marks has testified that her and Santos's actions were intended to benefit and obtain money for his campaign by artificially inflating his funds to meet thresholds set by the National Political Committee. Oh my gosh. All right. So here we're saying, reviewing the campaign bank statements. I am going to skim through just a little bit again. Significant travel expenses. All right. So flights, hotels, Ubers, and meals. Witnesses affiliated with the campaign had conflicting testimony regarding Santos's out-of-district travel. One witness who was involved with the campaign in 2022 testified to OSC that there were only 2 trips taken out of state during the campaign, to D.C. and to Florida. However, additional witnesses affiliated with the campaign described Santos's out-of-district campaign travel differently to the ISC, with one recalling that he traveled once per month. That's a lot. Whereas another expressed concern about the high frequency of his out-of-district travel for the campaign. The staffer who had concerns about the amount of travel testified that they were worried about the look of the campaign spending all this money on all these dinners and travel outside the district. The staffer raised those concerns with Santos, who replied, quote, "But these are donor dinners or constituent dinners or, prospective donor dinners," end quote. Another staffer who witnessed Santos use campaign funds for meals and Ubers said that they did not have concerns about the spending. But others noted Santos was definitely a high roller who frequently went to donor dinners. In addition to the travel expenses, OCE identified several specific expenditures as raising concerns of potential personal use of campaign funds. I remember Ubers. I remember there was in my area years and years ago, one of the most controversial thing was there was a union leader who used a union credit card to buy flowers for his wife. It was like $50 and he resigned over it. And meanwhile, this guy's out here spending thousands of dollars. Like, what? He was traveling to the stores out of town. Oh my gosh. His campaign trail was the grift. Winning ruined it. Oh, good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh my gosh. All right, let's take a look here. So we have $2,281.52 spent at resorts in Atlantic City. Wow. Over a 2-day period. $1,400 at Virtual Skin Spa in Jericho, New York. Okay. July of 2022. $225 at City MD in Huntington, New York on August 27th. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What are these people doing? Now, I'm not for or against Botox, but I am against using campaign funds for personal use. I don't know. Was that what it was? Botox? Oh my, criming is stressful, Jim. I think that's the best statement ever. Criming is stressful. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. With respect to the Atlantic City expenditures, ICE did not receive records of any political or campaign events occurring in Atlantic City at the time. Santos's calendar entry for July 23rd was blank, and there was only one event. Well, that's smart. At least he left it blank. Some of these yahoos are like writing in, I'm criming. And there was only one event at 8 p.m. on the 24th titled NRCC Candidate. Another former staffer did not recall any sort of fundraising or campaign things in Atlantic City, but did recall Santos told him that he enjoyed visiting casinos to play roulette, often with his husband. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, you have to laugh, everybody. You have to laugh. I mean, right? It's ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Oh my goodness. All right. It's a lot. Oh my, who doesn't? I know. Okay, so ISC also identified July 7th, $3,332 in Airbnb expenditure. Whoa. Reported as a hotel stay. Review of the campaign's calendar on that date indicated that Santos was off at the Hamptons for the weekend. All right, so he did write it down. He is one of the yahoos. Oh no. Oh my goodness. The ISC also reviewed additional taxi and hotel charges on the campaign credit card that were incurred in Las Vegas in December of 2021. So that's never a good sign either. Oh dear. During a time when Santos had told his campaign staff that he was on his honeymoon and that there were no corresponding campaign events on the calendar. Well, his honeymoon was clearly in Vegas. Several other expenditures related to spa services and or cosmetic procedures could not be verified as having campaign nexus. Oh, come on. There's got to be a nexus there somewhere, right? It is stressful. Oh my gosh. For example, during the 2020 campaign, a $1,500 purchase on the campaign debit card was made to Mirza Aesthetics. This expense was not reported to the FEC and was noted as Botox in expense spreadsheets produced by the ISC by Ms. Marks. Again, well labeled. That was well labeled. Similarly, the $1,400 charge at the Virtual Skin Spa was a campaign debit card purchased that was also described as Botox in the spreadsheets produced by Ms. Marks. All right. Well, I mean, she wrote it down. The ISC also identified unreported PayPal payments of $1,029 to an esthetician associated with the spa in Rhinebeck, New York. Oh, my goodness. The correspondence with FEC, Santos has admitted that there were systemic errors and omissions within his campaign reports. to the FEC, including the existence of the $199.99 disbursements discussed above. According to the letter, the campaign's FEC's reports appear to be riddled with errors and omissions. The respondent had no knowledge of the errors or omissions at the time the reports were filed. The respondent put his trust in his former treasurer, who has filed FEC reports for multiple members of Congress to accurately keep records and file reports. This was clearly a mistake. When the respondent learned of these issues, he promptly took steps to rectify these problems. After firing Ms. Marks, the former treasurer, and hiring a new treasurer, the systemic nature of the problems was uncovered. To start, after reviewing the campaign's bank account, there's no evidence that the $199.99 disbursements ever existed. It's unclear why Ms. Marks included these items in the report. So that's Ms. Marks going under the bus. Yes. Yes, that's correct. That's somebody being tossed under the bus. Can you hear it? Can you hear her being... Oh my gosh. What are we doing here? Bootleg Botox. Oh my gosh. I don't think you want to get bootleg botulism. I'm not sure you want to go cheap on that. I mean, I don't know, but that would be my guess. All right. It's a lot, everybody. Yes, sorry everybody. I am sitting on a stool here next to my desk, and so sometimes my foot catches the desk, so I apologize for that. Yep, sorry, that was my foot. I was overwhelmed by the bootleg botulism. All right. So he asserted in his correspondence that he only later was made aware of the issues. Here, witnesses testified that they had concerns about her bookkeeping abilities, and several had raised those concerns with Santos. One campaign staffer told them, the ISC, it was difficult to get an accurate reporting of contributions that were coming in, and they discussed these issues with Santos on more than 5 occasions. So here we go. We've got a Q&A. So there were conversations on the phone, on team calls, a lot of team calls. I would say on probably mostly the team calls, and we would talk about reporting. We couldn't get an accurate number of what had actually come in because there were duplicates and incorrect information in the report. Question: what was Representative Santos's reaction to being told about your concerns regarding Mrs. Marks? I'll talk to her. That was it. Another member of his campaign staff recalled specifically discussing the campaign's reporting of $199.99 disbursements with Santos in 2021. I remember the $199.99 disbursement coming to light, and I couldn't tell you the time frame. It was near the end of our tenure, and I remember discussing it with Witness 3 and then bringing it up to at least George, and I can't recall if Nancy as well. But we didn't receive a satisfactory answer. It was just, well, I'll have to check with Nancy, get clarification on that. We never really got a straight answer after that. So that's pretty significant. Santos was made aware of these concerns on multiple occasions and did not address it. So we'll flip through here again. And I'm going to kind of skim through this next little bit, everybody. Again, we've kind of been looking through the numbers, but I do want to get to the committee's recommendations. So they're going through, again, relevant laws, rules, and other applicable standards of conduct that's being violated here. So that's what they're setting out. The findings here. So they determined systemic errors and omissions in Santos's campaign reporting were more than carelessness by his treasurer. Rather, they were part of an overall scheme to avoid transparency about his campaign finances. So then we bump down fraudulent political contribution schemes. So this was set out as well in the indictment. So here's a little background. Again, I'll kind of skim through here a little bit. Involving another scheme. Santos received funds from Redstone on various occasions. According to the bank records, at least $200,000 was transferred from Redstone's bank accounts to Santos's personal bank account. So they're going through and talking about different emails here. What was this piece? Was not registered. Okay, so the Redstone Corporation was not registered with the FEC. So that's not good. Let's see. Bank account, $25,000 wire. Okay, this was also part of the wire fraud, just so we know. Again, I'm skipping through for a minute, everyone, so we can get to the recommendations. So he had this ongoing relationship with Redstone that was not properly set out. Now we've got relevant laws again. We've got another United States Code section 1343, intending to devise any scheme to defraud for obtaining money. So that's more of the campaign finances. There's substantial evidence that Santos participated in a financially benefited from a fraudulent scheme involving Redstone. Next, willful and knowing financial disclosure violations. So he intentionally and willfully knew that there were inaccuracies in his financial disclosure. So they're setting up the background here. Again, I'm skimming through, everybody. This report is 60 pages. So I do want to kind of get to, more of the meat of what they're trying to put in for recommendations for him. So we'll skim through this part. This is available online if you're looking for all of the details. Oh, thanks for the fruit salad. All right, so we've got the 2020 financial disclosure statements, errors and omissions that were included in that. Specifically, write-off concerns as well with income discrepancies. I know my page is getting turned a little bit here. Again, going into how he had been pulling in an income of $55,000, but yet claiming that these different loans were made. We've heard most of his lies already. Yes, we're skipping. Failure to file. So he didn't file when he was supposed to. 2022 financial statement errors and omissions. Again, so he did more here. So we're skipping through there as well. Yeah, I think we've hit most of the highlights. So failure again to file the 2023. Then they go in again to the rules that had been violated as well. $20,000 for red wig. Yikes. And then findings. So, and then again, these are the findings just for that subsection. So next we've got a lack of diligence and candor. So they've already talked about that before. They requested information. Oh my gosh, more fruit. They requested information from him. He refused to comply. They said, give us some documents. He said, I'm not going to. His counsel then said also, well, we're not saying anything. And then they have different rules of conduct as well. Okay. So we fast forwarded, everybody. And then there were findings here. So those were the financial findings. Everybody catch all of that? Next, we've got other allegations reviewed by the subcommittee. So these are allegations that were not included in the trial informations. So one, we've got this misconduct allegation that was set out here stating that there was, thank you. On January 25th, witness number 10 was asked to come to the office and meet the other members of the staff. He returned to the office on several other occasions for varying amounts of time, but was later instructed not to return until he was cleared by human resources that could be onboarded. However, on February 1st, his offer of employment was rescinded due to the office's concern about then pending felony wiretapping charges against him. 2 days later, witness 10 filed a complaint with the committee alleging Santos had engaged in this kind of misconduct towards him while they were alone in the congressman's office on January 25th, going over mail correspondence from constituents. So it's pretty weak, everybody, this particular one. The ISC was unable to substantiate this allegation. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying it did happen, but they're saying they're unable to substantiate it. Testimony from witnesses contradicted witness 10's testimony about reviewing the mail and being alone with him in his office. They also have concerns about witness 10's credibility and motivation for making the allegation based on other evidence reviewed during the investigation. So that has not been substantiated here. We do have conflicts of interest, first involving the Divulger organization, which he clearly ran. Next, the criminal attorney. So this attorney also represented him in the federal prosecution. DOJ filed a motion seeking a hearing to determine whether there was a conflict of interest involving his attorney, arising from the relationships that counsel has had with two individuals who are referenced in the superseding indictment, namely person number 1 and Miss Marks. So there was some conflict of interest issues going on there. And then additional allegations charged by the Department of Justice. So we've got multiple wire fraud involved, along with identity theft. All right, here we go. We made it, everybody. We made it. Let's go into the recommendations. Woohoo! It's a never-ending song. I know. All right. ISC recommendations to the committee. So here's what they recommended. All right, we're going to flip. We're flipping. There we go. All right, here's the recommendations. Whoo, we made it. We made it. All right. Here we go. Following recommendations. So the ISC recommends that the committee immediately refer to the U.S. Department of Justice for the action as DOJ deems necessary, the matter involving Santos regarding his knowingly causing his campaign committee to file false and incomplete reports with the Federal Election Commission, use of campaign funds for personal purposes, fraudulent conduct in connection with Redstone, and knowing and willful violations of the Ethics in Governments Act as it relates to his financial disclosure statements filed with the House. So that's number 1. So they're recommending the DOJ take it over. Number 2, the ISC recommends that the committee authorize the release of materials in possession of the committee and not available through any other source to the U.S. Department of Justice as necessary for further action DOJ pursues as a result of the referral of the matter. All right, so they're going to give everything that they found over to the DOJ. And then number 3, the ISC recommends that the committee adopt this report and publicly condemn Representative Santos, whose conduct the ISC found to be beneath the dignity of the office and to have brought severe discredit upon the House. So publicly condemn him. So that's it. So they said take any of the illegalities need to be brought up to the Department of Justice. He needs to have be publicly condemned, and all of the information that they gathered will be given to the DOJ. Yes, sounds fair. Yeah, I think it sounds fair also, and I think expulsion would also be fair. Yeah, the shame fingers, shame on you, shame on you. So that's a lot, everybody. That's a lot more than what was put in the indictments. There was a lot more going on here. Charges coming. We've already got the regular indictment and the superseding indictment, so he's got a lot of charges at this point. Will there be new charges? I don't know. It's definitely possible, but at this point, we don't know. Why doesn't he just resign? That's a great question. Now, I believe one of his quotes was, "I will remain here for as long as I am able to," something like that, stating like he realizes he's in trouble and could get pulled here. Well, thank you, Labyrinth. I appreciate that. What do you need to do to be expelled? Great question. It seems like apparently this isn't enough. So she's been sentenced. Yes, Nancy's already been sentenced. Yep. I don't have her sentencing papers yet, but I do know that she was. He still wants a paycheck. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a pretty big grift for sure. So this was the due process that everyone was saying he needed to have before they could go and commence future steps in order to have him removed. So they're in a tight spot because the Republicans don't have the kind of majority that they would ideally want to have in the House, and every vote matters. So by pulling him out right now and going through a special election to fill his seat could be very detrimental. Yeah, it could be very detrimental. So I'm not sure. Yes, 2/3 votes. 2/3 in order for him to be expelled. So will that happen? I don't know, but it's possible. He definitely meets the requirements for expulsion. Yeah, 2/3 is what we call a supermajority. Reintroducing articles. Well, and that could be... Oh, no, I don't feel bad for any of them, Olga. I wish I could, but I don't. I feel bad that I don't feel bad. How's that? But yes, so they'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, I'm wondering about that. I mean, come on, military, come on. That's a lot. All right, everybody. So before I go tonight, as promised, so that's the end of Mr. Santos, so to speak. Yikes. So that's the end of that. So the next, let me take you through and review this. Thank you. Thank you so much for the gifts, everybody. I really do appreciate it. So in the last tea break, yes, in just 1 minute here. So the last piece I do want to go over is this order that came out of Michigan. So just to summarize real quick, and I'm not going to read through this whole document. You're most welcome. You're absolutely welcome. So, okay, there was a case, it wasn't me. There was a group of people that filed injunctive relief in Michigan regarding Mr. Trump being on the primary ballot and the general election ballot. So this petition was put on file. We thought, this is the third case. We had Minnesota, Colorado, and then Michigan, but Michigan just got kicked out. So I will take you through just the very beginning here of what the court did order in this particular case in setting out why they felt like they needed to dismiss it. So, it's my pleasure, Pete. I'm happy to. Let me take a quick tea break, everybody, and then I'll just walk you through the highlights of this one. Okay, here we go. So here's the opinion and order denying the plaintiff's request for injunctive relief and granting in part and denying in part for plaintiff's request for declaratory relief. So the way that they filed this petition was they had requested the Secretary of State in Michigan to be able to have the authority to make the decision in order to pull him from the ballot. So here we go. Plaintiff comes before the court, and this is the plaintiff, all right? So it's Mr. Trump. It's Mr. Trump against the Secretary of State. And so the plaintiff is saying she does not have the power and authority to bump him off the ballot, okay? So keep that in mind as we go through that. A plaintiff comes before the court seeking declaratory injunctive relief to, 1, declare the Secretary of State has neither an affirmative duty nor the authority under Michigan law to refuse to include Donald J. Trump as a candidate for president on either Michigan's presidential primary or general election ballots. So again, yes, because he's the plaintiff, you can see how this one's already different. Number 2, declare the secretary has no authority to exclude Donald J. Trump from the Michigan primary or general election ballots under federal law. 3, enjoin the secretary from refusing to place Donald J. Trump on the Michigan primary ballot on the basis that he's disqualified under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So, and then footnote number 1, I think they jumped the gun and will eventually be able to get it done. Yes, I think they were too quick. But I think, a lot of people are like, why isn't everybody filing? It's a delicate balance that we are dealing with. An argument has been made to the court that it does not have jurisdiction to grant plaintiff's request for declaratory and injunctive relief because plaintiff's complaint has relied on federal law. In reference to his prayers for relief, plaintiff has briefly cited this federal statute in the titles of the counts in the complaint. However, in paragraph 6 of the complaint, plaintiff maintains that the court has jurisdiction over this matter under different Michigan laws. Plaintiff's specific requests for relief in the body of the complaint do not rely on federal law. In keeping with the well-established rule, courts to look beyond mere procedural labels and read the allegations in a complaint as a whole to ascertain the nature of the claim. Citing case law, the court finds that plaintiff's complaint properly seeks relief pursuant to Michigan law such that this court has jurisdiction. So the court is establishing jurisdiction in part by saying just because federal law was cited, that wasn't the complete reliance. All right, so the petitioner here is saying we need to stop the Secretary of State from removing the petitioner from the ballot. So let's take a look here at the court's rationale. The secretary has responded and agrees with plaintiff's first assertion regarding the primary ballot. So first, right out the gate, Michigan Secretary of State agrees she does not have the authority to pull him from the ballot for the primary ballot. So for the primary case, very similar to Minnesota. She also stated she has no opinion with respect to the second and third request for a declaratory judgment. So the fact that she's not agreeing or disagreeing with the second and third parts would lead me to believe they were too soon. They didn't have enough to kind of fill their complaint out completely, because she's saying, I'm not going to fight on number 2 or 3. Whatever the court decides is what the court decides. So, for the reasons which will be set forth below, and I'm not going to read the entire opinion, everybody, we'll just summarize it here. The court concludes, number 1, Michigan's Constitution of 1963, Article 2, Section 4, and Michigan Code 168.614a, and this section prescribe the manner a person may have their name placed on the Michigan presidential primary ballot, and in doing so, direct the actions of the Secretary of State shall take such that the Secretary has neither the affirmative duty nor the authority to separately decide whether Donald J. Trump will be placed on the Michigan presidential primary ballot on the grounds that he's disqualified under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. So she does not have the authority according to their Constitution. Number 2, the question of whether Donald J. Trump is ineligible from being placed on the 2024 Michigan presidential primary ballot because he's disqualified from serving under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment presents a political question that is non-justiciable at the present time. So this is a political question which is outside of a court's jurisdiction. So it's not a constitutional question, it's political. So he's saying he doesn't have the authority to hear it at the moment. Number 3, the question of whether Donald J. Trump is qualified or disqualified from appearing on the 2024 general election ballot in Michigan is not ripe for adjudication at this time. Again, very similar to what happened in Minnesota. So the court will therefore, 1, grant plaintiff's request for a declaration that the Secretary of State does not have a clear legal duty or the authority under Michigan law to determine whether plaintiff is disqualified from being placed on the Michigan presidential primary ballot. Again, this is the primary ballot in 2024 because of a Section 3 disqualification. Number 2, deny plaintiff's request to declare the duties or authority of the Secretary with respect to the 2024 general election at this time. So they're pausing it. They're saying at this time, we're not going to declare whether or not the Secretary has this power for a general election. So again, very similar to what happened in Minnesota. And then number 3, grant plaintiff's request for a declaration that the Secretary of State does not have the authority to determine under federal Constitution law whether the plaintiff may be disqualified under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment from appearing on the 2024 Michigan presidential primary ballot because the court finds the question of Section 3 disqualification is non-justiciable. So it's a political question, so they cannot answer it. Number 4, deny any request for declaratory or injunctive relief to the extent plaintiff requests that the court order the Secretary to place plaintiff on the 2024 presidential primary ballot or enjoin the Secretary from refusing to do so on the basis the plaintiff is not qualified. So this one I think is important. So the plaintiff, so Trump, had requested that they force the Secretary of State to put him on the ballot or to make sure she is unable to refuse, and they are denying that request. All right, they're not going to force her to place him on the ballot at this time. They're also not going to force her to not refuse to do so in the future. And then number 5, deny any similar request for declaratory or injunctive relief with respect to the 2024 general election at this time. So again, they're saying we're not going to do that at this time. The timing isn't right. So the court thanks and acknowledges the parties and all the amicus curiae or amicus curiae filers' thoughtful and comprehensive submissions received by the court. So the rest of this goes into, again, yes, at this time, Daisy, you got it. The rest of this really goes into the historical background regarding the Constitution and the post-Bill of Rights, pre-Civil War amendments, so kind of going into further explanation of the Civil War and the intent behind that, which I thought was interesting. When the 14th Amendment was ratified, what the purpose was for it, and then the allegations of the plaintiff here. So the court was pretty clear that it's just not the right time. For the primary, again, the rules that designate who gets put on the ballot are set out. It's not up to the court to tell the secretary to keep him off the ballot. That's not how their laws are working there in Michigan. But when it comes to the general election, we just don't know yet. I can go with this because we still got... Yes. Michigan, you're definitely paving the way. You've got a lot of good stuff going on there. I think the court was wise here to wait. I think this is the kind of case, these are the kinds of situations you just have to be extremely careful about. So it takes a little bit longer. Yes. I don't think this is a huge loss. I think it's very similar to what happened in Minneapolis or what happened in Minnesota. With regards to this question. Although if you are interested in another historical perspective, you can pull this case and kind of walk through the court's look at it. He does a good job of really setting out the primary arguments historically of what the intent was behind Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And then the post-Civil War amendments, there was the batch of the 13th, 14th, and 15th. So it's very interesting. So there you go, everybody. There's the overview. I'm not sure who's running Michigan right now. I'm not sure. That's a great question. It's encouraging they'll consider it again. I agree. It was not dismissed with prejudice. Also, they weren't forcing the secretary to do one thing or another. So I think that's great. I think that's very good. Seems like a win. Well, I would say it's not a loss. I think it's a draw at this point. What happened to Floyd? We don't know yet. We don't know. Yes, Gretchen Winter. Yes, Whitner. Yep. We love that. So everybody, let me give you one more preview here on what's going on for the rest of this week. So we do have a couple more filings that are meant to come out. I haven't seen anything too significant at this point. I'm also waiting for that stay of the gag order in the New York civil case. I don't have it yet. I heard it was done from the bench after oral arguments, so I don't have a printed copy. Now, I do have to say, normally I would be coming back on again tomorrow, but I will not be back on for the next couple of days. I have a special quinceañera celebration. So I will not be on for the next couple of days because it's time to party. There's going to be some big fiesta-ing going on. I'm very excited about it. So I will be back for the sub chat only on Sunday here. And so I will be back again, sub chat Sunday. And then back to my normal time on the 20th. And we should have lots of stuff. I know. I know, but there are just certain things that you can't miss. And so one of them is a quinceañera. So I'm very excited about it. It should be extremely fun. I will still be posting, but I won't be live again until Sunday again. But then I should have lots of very interesting things here. We've got the DC appeal of the DC gag order. That hearing's set for Monday. So, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. The elector issue in Michigan, yes, they've been charged. I do have their indictments, and we did go through how they were charged. So I think my 2 lives ago, I had gone through and read through that indictment. You might want to keep an eye on my Tube of You channel over the next few days because I will be posting. Usually I post once a day, but I'm so far behind on my Tube of You. I'll probably have multiple posts over the next few days. So I will have that up and going. So the Michigan indictment should be up very soon. Santos is the gift that keeps on giving. Oh my goodness. He certainly is something else. But I will go ahead and sign off for tonight, everybody. Thank you all for coming and hanging out and going through. It got a bit dry, but there are a few highlights in there. I think very interesting information. So I will be back again for Sunday for my sub chat, and then back to my regular schedule here. But I will be there will be pinatas and margaritas involved over the next few days, so it'll be a very busy time. I'm very excited. So I will be back again. Thanks again, everybody, for joining me and coming and hanging out. Thank you to the moderators. You're all amazing. Oh, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. So have a great night, everybody. And I will be back on Sunday for sure. And yes, so take care. I might try to post a few things. No punching. Yes, I know. No more punching. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, have a great night, everybody. And I'll see you again in a few days. So take care.